So this question comes up a ton. I would say it's on pretty much every call we have with maybe a potential client or somebody that we're meeting for the first time. And for good reason, right? Like that's a big part of the budget, or it can be. So in principle, usually where I go to answer this question is you should spend as much on marketing as you need to figure out whatever you want to figure out. I know it's kind of ambiguous to a certain degree, but it's not a formula. Every business is different, right? Everything costs different. You technically could go after this audience or another audience. So a classic example of this is, say, I'll use one of our clients. So say you're trying to sell men's underwear, right? So if you want to sell men's underwear and you have a theory because you make really high quality underwear and it's like kind of expensive compared to other like underwear in the vertical, you would say, okay, well, I think, men that work in finance are going to buy this underwear. Well, how much should you spend on that is how much it takes to figure out if that's true or not. So from a Facebook perspective, and it'll be different for AdWords, from a Facebook perspective, you can say, I want to build an ad set that goes after men who are 25 to 34 that work in finance in, we'll just say Manhattan, for the sake of the picture. So from there, you would build an ad set. You would probably have a multivariate test, so like an A/B style test of image and copy. Within that ad set where you say, okay, this one's going to be targeted directly at that audience, and this one's going to be more generic. So maybe like an image of Manhattan in the background for this targeting group. And the other one's maybe just a flat product shot, right? And then you have pieces of copy that go with those. I know Facebook tells me how many people are in that group, right? So because I know that, I can estimate the cost of showing those people those ads. And if I show them those ads enough times, and maybe they click in, maybe they buy the product, I can back out exactly how much it costs for me to run that test. And the test may work, it may not work, right? But the idea is that you want to do something with purpose, and you can define how much you should spend on marketing by backing out those sorts of thought experiments and then actually running them. So typically what I would say is, what do you want to experiment with? Like, what do you want to figure out? Because you could do one experiment at a time and do this forever, which most companies don't want to do, right? Like you want to figure out something this month, this quarter, this year, and then go from there. So that's really the context of the business, because there's going to be opportunity costs of taking that marketing budget and buying more inventory or giving it to a sales team or some other aspect of the business. So we know what we want to do and how to do it and back it out, but that conversation of what you should spend on marketing is somewhat dependent on, what else can you spend money on, why, and what's the return going to be?
Yeah, my answer is more straightforward. $1 million, unmarked bills in a briefcase. There's definitely the testing element, but really what's more important for what we try to understand as well is what kind of goal do you have? And like really that's usually around a customer acquisition cost. So what are you willing to pay based on your margins to break even for each customer? And understanding that these channels are dynamic and they're fluid, and we can optimize towards any goal. So the limitation is if you say, well, I can only afford to pay $100 to acquire a customer, $50, then that has effects on how much volume we can drive. So when we're budgeting these things, we try to figure out what level do we need to hit before we can kind of unlock that like golden goose of we can scale indefinitely if we're able to hit these numbers for you. And that's where a lot of our clients are trying to get.